Hi everybody, my name is Nancy and I'm your health coach tuning in once again to provide you with tips and tools that you can use to help facilitate your own journey towards health and wellness. So every weekday morning at 7:15, we go live, my husband and I, Rock and I, go live on Facebook, on our Facebook page at Rock and Nancy's Pit Stop to provide you with a little bit of humor, a little bit of insight, and we have a lot of fun doing it, so you can check it out every weekday morning at 7:15. And we also start the week with a new health and wellness challenge to just help facilitate your own journey towards health and wellness. And last week's health and wellness challenge was about how you can manage your stress. We all know that stress affects our physical and our mental health, but did you know that it also affects your waistline? Let me explain. You see, we have a central nervous system that's located inside our brain, and its job is to receive all of the information from our environment and our thoughts, and then it responds accordingly. So our central nervous system has two types of responses. It has the sympathetic, the fight or flight response, and it has the parasympathetic, rest, digest, and repair response. Our sympathetic response responds to stressful situations, either from our environment or negative thinking. And since our brain doesn't know the difference between real danger and our negative thinking, it's going to stay in the state of fight or flight for as long as we experience chronic stress. You see, our brain is designed to keep us safe. It's not designed to make us happy. And this is why it's so easy to let events or our negative thinking take control of our mind unless we develop a mindful practice where we can live in a state of well-being more often. Since our stress levels are on the rise due to this global pandemic, I thought it was a good idea to shed some light on how chronic stress affects your overall health and your waistline. That way you can have a better understanding of how you can manage your stress so you can learn how to live in a state of love rather than living in a state of fear. Because love cannot coexist with fear, just like fear cannot coexist with love. So when we experience ongoing stress, our sympathetic response releases stress hormones such as adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine, and inflammatory agents into our bloodstream, preparing us to fight the supposed danger that's in front of us or run away. As I mentioned before, our brain doesn't know the difference between real danger like a bear chasing us or our negative thinking. So it's going to stay in the state of fight or flight for as long as it experiences stress. So we're only meant to live in a state of fight or flight for a short burst at a time and then return to a state of rest and digest. That's why when we live in a state of chronic stress, we can't digest our foods properly because it can't do both at the same time. And when we live in a state of chronic stress, our blood supply pulls away from our digestive system and then it heads towards our extremities to prepare us to fight or flight from the supposed danger, the stress, which just makes it even harder to digest our foods properly. And when we experience ongoing stress, our body's natural response is to use our glucose, meaning the sugar, to fuel the adrenaline that is needed to fight or flight from the supposed danger. And when it uses the sugar to fuel our adrenaline, our fat cells don't get burnt off, which makes it even harder to lose those extra pounds. It's also one of the reasons why we crave sugar, because our body knows it needs the sugar to fuel our adrenaline to fight the supposed danger or run away. And over a period of time, our adrenaline starts to run out, so we start to produce cortisol. And the cortisol's job is to slow down our metabolism to preserve any extra energy in case of starvation. And once that happens, we start to experience weight gain. So we decide to go on a diet where we tend to eat less. Then that confirms to the body that there is a period of starvation. So the cortisol slows down our metabolism even more, which makes it even harder to lose the extra weight. So as you can see, living in a state of chronic stress can have a tremendous impact on our overall health and waistline. And the key is to find a balance between living in a state of fear or living in a state of love and living in a state of fear. Because as I mentioned, love cannot coexist with fear, just like fear cannot coexist with love. So while it's beneficial to experience the occasional stress because it can be healthy for us, but when we live in the state of chronic stress, that's when it starts to have tremendous impact on our overall health and our well-being and our waistline. So I want to share with you the top 3 best practices I implement every single day to avoid living in a state of chronic stress. Otherwise, it's easy for me to go in a full-blown panic attack. The first one is being on the lookout for what I can be grateful for throughout the day. And then write 3 things that I'm grateful for at bedtime. This will condition your mind to be happy instead of focusing on what's lacking in your life. I can invite you to give thanks. Just give thanks for the simplest things, because when we feel grateful for the littlest things, it makes us feel good and it invites more goodness inside our lives, because we attract what we are, not what we want. And the second thing is to develop a mindfulness practice where we can raise our awareness, where you can live your life on your terms. You can do so by reading books or listening to podcasts or audiobooks or YouTube videos on personal growth and self-development. This alone literally changed my life. Before I was introduced to the world of personal growth and self-development, I was afraid of everything, which enabled me to stay small. So working on developing myself allowed me to step outside of my comfort zone where I can grow into my best self. So I highly encourage you to get into the habit of listening or reading content that will inspire you or empower you to realize your truest potential. And the third thing is just to have a daily exercise routine where you can feel good both physically and mentally. When we move our body, it makes us feel good because it releases a love hormone called endorphins, which ultimately decreases our fear hormone, such as cortisol. It also increases our oxygen levels where we can think clearer. It boosts our metabolism and our confidence, which is always good for weight loss and our self-esteem. So I hope these 3 best practices serves you well. If you feel like you want more training on this topic, then feel free to go to my website at yourjourneytowardswellness.com, and I have an amazing online course on there that's called Reduce Your Stress, Reduce Your Waistline, and it really talks in greater details about how you can manage your stress, your overall health, and your well-being. So I hope this message serves you well. If you feel like anybody would benefit from this video, feel free to share it. Until next time, remember, just keep progressing on your own journey towards health and wellness. Cheers.